You want or need to start using SolidWorks and you don't know where to begin? This video will definitely help you. In this video, we are going to talk about the basic commands and features of SolidWorks. I'm using version 2019, but don't worry, if you have an earlier version, the basics are exactly the same. Well, in my classes, I always start teaching the students how to format the environment. Well, there are particular things that can be done to improve the productivity while you use SolidWorks. The first thing, and most of people don't know exactly how to do it, is how to fix some menus. For example, if you want to access file, you have to go here, see? And sometimes it disappears, the other menu. It's quite annoying. So I want to see it disappears. Well, the same thing here. If it just, I click disappear, how can I solve this? Well, it's quite simple. You just have to go here and press here. Well, you got to go here and press here. So every time you press this, it fixes a menu. Once you've finished formatting the SolidWorks with this simple tweaks, you can start a new file. Well, you can go simply here, File, New, or you can just press this blank page as any other software. So the same result will happen. Well, here this will pop you up, this menu, and you have three different large icons. Well, you will see that you have a part, an assembly, and a drawing. How does this work? Well, this video only will show you the basic commands of parts, but you need to understand how these three different things work. Well, parts are made for single design components. Meaning, for example, you want to build or create a pencil, which is made of, for example, let's say 3 components, meaning 3 parts. Well, you have to create these 3 parts independently. They will be 3 different files. But you want to assemble them. Well, if you want to assemble them, you cannot do it here. Well, you can, but the correct place to do it is here. You pick up these 3 parts that will be linked to an assembly. Well, and if you want to do the 2D engineering drawings with the isometric views, for example, with section cuts, whatever, dimensioning, well, you can do it for the parts or for the assembly, and this is done here. Well, SolidWorks is also very good at tutorials, so if you press here, you have a lot of tutorials available to follow up. Now, there's another icon here which says Advanced, which basically does this. Makes your icons smaller, puts the tutorials and the open parts around here, and the tutorial smaller. So it doesn't make a big difference. So I always start here, honestly, and I just press Part and do OK. Well, and this opens our environment in SolidWorks. Here you can start modeling your components, your parts. On the left side, you have this tree here. Well, this is very important. Your eyes should always look for this left side. This is where everything that you do will be recorded, and you can edit it, you can change it, you can reorganize it, you can do a lot of things on this left side. So it's very important that you keep your focus on this left side. Well, on the top, you have a lot of commands. Some are hidden, some are visible. Well, what SolidWorks tries to do is to simplify the amount of commands that are available to what you can do at the moment. Well, I cannot do any of this until I have a part. Well, but to do a part, I have to start with extruded or revolves. But before I do extrude or revolve, I have to do some sketching. Well, sketching is done here. Okay, so these tabs only select the amount of commands that you have. So what I want to do is right now, I know it's like basic drawing. What do you need? Well, I need a pencil, I need a rubber, I need a piece of paper. So right now the pencil and the rubber are on the sketch part. So the sketching is where you do all the lines, the circles, whatever, lots of rectangles, texting, smart dimension, very important. Do not forget this. Oh, I need a paper. Where is the paper? Well, the paper is a plane. Well, planes are front, top, or right. And these three planes are available by default. So I can start writing in any, or sketching as you wish, on any of these planes. Well, as you can see, I'm not touching anything. I'm just dragging the mouse over the planes. And you can see them orange. Well, if I click them, they become blue. Means they are selected. So let's start creating our first part. To do so, we are going to select one plane, front plane. We are going to select the sketch tab, and then we are going to select sketch. Well, this immediately, if you can see, the plane immediately became normal to us, so it makes it easier to start sketching. Now we're going to do a very, very simple part. So we're going to start with a rectangle, and we're going to use this origin as a reference. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to draw, without worrying about the dimensions right now. We're going to do a rectangle with 100 by 50, but I don't care about the dimensions because I'm starting it. So the dimensions come later. This is a big difference because for those who are used to AutoCAD, this cannot be done. So in AutoCAD normally you draw the lines and you have to add the dimensions immediately, otherwise it will not make the rectangle with the dimensions that you want. So here is slightly different. So now when you just care about drawing the geometry, that's it, and then you add the dimensions. So I'm adding the geometry, and you can see this green squares, they are relations that are added automatic, like horizontal, vertical, or even coincident with this origin point, so with the 0, 0, 0. It's very important to use this origin as a reference because all the planes pass by these points. Okay, so what I told you, just draw it. We are still under the sketching. Well, how do I know that? Well, first of all, this in the right corner, that's this thing here. Here in the bottom right, you said editing sketch, and so on. So I'm going to start adding the dimensions. So I click Smart Dimension, click the line, click outside with a left click, and I add the dimension, 50. Enter. Automatically it updates. So I'm going to do the same. I select the line, left click here, and type 100. Well, I type 100 means millimeters, obviously, because this is the units that I'm using. These are the units that I'm in millimeter, gram, and second. I can change it here anytime. So one of the very important things is you need to know how to work with these dimensions. So if you double click them, you can edit them again. So for example, if I say this is 20, it automatically updates the drawing. If I double click it and say, for example, 50 millimeters is 5 centimeters, obviously, so 5 cm, and done. It converts immediately to 50. What if I go here and I type 50, just a minute, plus 50. There you go, 100. So this is very useful in SolidWorks. Every time you have to type a dimension, or a number, you can do some calculations, or even you can convert units. For example, if you want to convert to inches, or if you want to use inches, you just type, for example, 2 in, and it becomes converted to millimeters automatically. So it's quite useful. So once I do here, I just press OK, and now I have simple rectangle. Now I want to convert this and create a solid. Now solids cannot be done in Sketch, so I have to go to Features. So in Features, I want to extrude this 2D sketch, and if you can see, immediately when I do it, it starts creating a volume. So I can drag this with the dimension, which is very nice visually, but it's not that good when you're trying to do it. It's easier to type here if you have an exact dimension. For example, I want to type this with 200. And you have several options here that I will cover in future videos. But right now, just focus on basic things like I want to do a dimension. But you can ask, what if I want the other side? Well, it's quite simple. You just go to this icon here and it goes to the other side. So you can do it from one direction or two directions. Well, you can even do it at the same time. So if you choose direction 2, it can extrude to the other direction another dimension that you wish. Well, you can remove it and that's it. So let's keep it with 200 millimeters and press OK. So here is your first solid. Well, one thing that I always recommend to my students is that use a mouse when you work with CAD systems. It's very difficult to work with a trackpad. Well, the mouse, particularly the middle button, the scroll button, is very useful. Now, I'm going to do, if you use the middle button, you can avoid going to a lot of these icons here or view and change things. So it's quite simple. Now, I'm going to teach you how to use it. Well, if you scroll up or down, it zooms in and zooms out. Well, and it always zooms in and out to the point where you have your mouse. So if you want to zoom to this, you put the mouse here and you scroll. So it's quite simple. Well, to rotate, it's quite easy as well. Just press it in the middle and then you rotate it. So it's once you get used to it, you do it really fast and you avoid going to commands. One other feature that is regarding how you view your parts is a shortcut that I use very often, which is the space bar. So you press space and this thing here, this cube appears and you can select which one do you want to go. So it's quite useful. So for example, I want this isometric view from here. It shows a preview on this right corner. Well, if I remove it, it disappears. So I'll press it and you can see how it changed. So it's quite good. Now, most of the things that you do, they require sketching. But there are other features that do not require sketching. Like for example, you want to do a fillet or a chamfer. Well, these two are here, fillet or chamfer. They do not require any sketching. Or even if you want to do a shell, which is here, they don't require any sketching. But we are going to the basics right now. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to draw a hole here. Well, a circle that's going to be a through hole in this side. But I'm not going to do with this whole wizard thing. I'm going to simplify it and we are going to do it with this extruded cut. So now, before we use these planes here to draw, but I want to draw in this face. Well, it's quite simple. Just press it and you start drawing in that face. Now, it's important that you can always draw on planes, these ones, create new planes, or planar faces. If it's a curved face, a surface, it's not possible. So there has to be a plane. So we select it, we do the same thing, that's it, sketch, sketch. I'm going to do it, press the space bar, put it normal to me. For example, here, without going here is another option. And it became normal to me. Now I'm going to start sketching a circle right around here. Look, I'm not giving it yet the dimensions for the radius or the diameter or its location. I'm going to do it now. With what? With Smart Dimension once again. So it's always the same thing. So you press Smart. Now I'm going to click it and I'm going to give it a dimension. Let's say diameter 20. Now I'm going to put it in the middle. So I'm going to select it. You don't need to select the center. Every time you select the circle and the line here, you can see the line came from the center of your circle. So I'm going to put it in the middle, so that will be 25. And now I'm going to do the same thing, but from this line here, which we'll put at 25 as well. So this is very good. Now, I'm going to rotate it so you can see where it is. Click outside. Now, one of the very common mistakes that I've found during these years of teaching SolidWorks is that people try, once they do this, they erase it because they don't like seeing here. They also ask, what's the difference if I put it right here? Is there any problem? Or right here? There's no problem. This dimensions two things. Doesn't matter where you put them as long as they are there. Second thing, please do not erase them. They are crucial. And the third thing, which I forgot to mention, is that what if I put it at a dimension here? Well, immediately this thing becomes yellow and says, well, you're adding too much dimension, you're over-adding dimensions. So if you see this, it means the dimension is already there and you just press cancel. It's the best thing to do. Okay? So with this, I'm ready now to make an extrude cut. So going to features, because sketching is just for 2D, going to features, and I have the equivalent to extruded, which is extruded cut. So I'm going to do extruded cut, and there you go. It does a cut for 200, which is fine. I can leave it like that. But I have a problem. If I wanted to go through all, but we need to think as engineers. So what if this dimension of 200 has to be changed in the future? For example, for 300, and I define my hole with 200 millimeters. Well, then it's not a through hole. It will be a blinded hole. So if you wanted to make it through all independently of the changes that you make, the best thing is to come here and do through all. And this ensures that if this dimension here changes of this line, this hole will always be from one side to the other. So I'm just going to do OK, and we'll cover this with more detail in future videos so you can see it. So I'm going to do it OK, and let's see if this worked. Let's zoom in here, and perfect. There's a hole there. Well, as you can see, now we have made 2 features and 2 sketches. Well, first we did a boss extruded, second a cut extrude. So if you click them, you'll see that they will be highlighted in your drawing. So like I told you in the beginning, this left side is where everything that you do is recorded. Now, each of these features, if you click there, has one sketch associated. You cannot reuse the sketch to do another thing. So this sketch 1 is associated with this boss extrude. I cannot add it to another thing. This sketch 2 is associated with this cut extrude. So you cannot do anything with it more. So what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to do 2 things. First, we are going to add fillets to some edges. Well, fillet is here, so I'm going to click fillet, and this, like I told you before as well, this doesn't require any sketching. So by default the radius is 10 millimeters, and I can simply go and select the edges that I want to make round. And there you go. I want this 4 edges. If you don't see them like I'm seeing them now, this preview, well, this happens a lot. You had this or partial preview or no preview selected. So if you want to see it, just press full preview and make sure it's fine, what you want, and press OK. Now, you have it like this. Now, I want to do a shell. Well, the shell is another feature that doesn't require doing sketching. Now, shell is over here. And how does this work? It's quite simple. Shell creates a shell, a thickness, a constant thickness all around your component. So if I click shell, it asks me what is the thickness of the wall that you want to leave in your component. So let's say, for example, I want to leave a shell of 2 millimeters, the thickness. Well, the other thing is, if you select here, faces to remove, meaning if I just press OK now, this is going to be closed, but with a surface or a shell of 2 millimeters all around it and empty inside. Now, if I click here, it means that this face will disappear. So it's easier to show you, and I think you'll understand. So I'll just press OK. I selected this face only. I'll press OK. And if you can see, well, it made a shell all around it, including making a shell around the hole. Well, I ask normally, how can we fix this? how can we correct this problem? Because I want the hole, I don't want this thing here, the cylinder here in the middle. I want a hole just in the wall of this and this side. Well, it's quite simple. And I told as well in the beginning, here is where you can record, everything is recorded, and you can organize, reorganize the way you do things. So you first did this, then you did this, and then this. So if you want to correct this, the easiest way is not creating a sketch, cut, extrude, it's just reorganize these tasks, these features that you've done. So I'm going to just click it and drag it to the bottom and it disappeared. So it's quite simple. So you can reorganize these things here, these features, and you can have a totally different approach to your drawing. Okay. Now, this ends part 1 of the introduction. If you want to see any other feature in more detail in future videos, please just let me know. We will cover other parts, other features. We'll cover the assembly and the drawing. Just send me a message and I can try to help you understanding better SolidWorks.